Yes, I think we are live now. Welcome everyone to this first ever episode of Wellbeing Corner, or as I like to call it, Wellbeing Cornered. Maybe you feel that way when I talk so much about well-being. It's just an intern joke for myself. Anyway, it's good to be here, and as you can notice, I'm in no way a professional. So if you think I'm really stupid or bad at speaking, you are probably correct. But anyway, I want to do this kind of live presentation because I think it's, first of all, it's fun. I enjoy it, and also it's a very good experience to be able to think directly and to speak directly. I have a bit of a problem with that, so I need the practice and experience. Also, as you might hear, I'm not a native English speaking person. I live in Sweden, and my English is it's good, but I have no experience in speaking English. It gets better and better, but that's also one of the main reasons I want to be here and talk, because it's really good experience to train the language. And my English knowledge is I studied at the university for 5 years, and the books there were in English, and I wrote most of my papers in English. So it's not that I don't know the language. It's just it's difficult to speak when you have no experience of it, because we don't speak English in Sweden to each other, as you might understand. And yeah, so it will be fun to practice English. And the other main reason I want to do this is because I have a big passion, and that passion is well-being. I love psychology. I love well-being topics. I even love anxiety, as weird as it may sound. But I've had a fair share of anxiety through my years, and I've come to understand it and develop an interest for it. And most of all, I found ways to get through it myself, and I want to share those experiences and thoughts about well-being. Yes, as you can see, I have my Sunday outfit on. It's yeah, I'm not styled or anything, and I don't think I ever will be able to be styled. But anyways, I hope you are not discouraged from what you see and turn it off in sheer angriness or something. I might do a bit of pauses now and then, because sometimes I get stuck in my thought process. So don't think I am going to leave you or anything. I will just regroup and pick up whatever I was thinking about. That's also a good training with this live talking. I've done the past some lectures in Swedish, and it's easier to talk to people when you have an audience. Here I have a screen, and it's not really easy to have a thought process going when you're talking to a screen. But yeah. So about well-being, my big passion in life and my big interest. that interest started about 15, 17 years ago when my anxiety started. And I got to learn more about it, and it brought up my eyes to philosophy and politics and writing and all kind of intellectual topics. And in the beginning, I was just trying to understand my anxiety. But as it processed, I got more and more interested in the psychology and what anxiety really is. And when I started to get out of my anxiety, I realized that it's not like the life is complete just because you do not have anxiety. A whole other process begins to reach wellness and actually enjoy life, because you don't have to enjoy life just because you don't have anxiety, but still it's important to try to feel well, and that got me into the psychology of well-being. I've had severe social anxiety for about 7 years, from age 19 to age 26. Today I am 37, so I have been free from anxiety for about 10 years. And with free, I mean that it doesn't slow me down anything, or I can do pretty much everything without feeling anxiety. I do get anxiety every now and then from extreme events, but yeah, that's not so much of a problem, because I bounce back pretty quickly. Except for my personal experience of social anxiety, I've also had panic attacks and periods of depression because of the anxiety. But when I was 26, I got on a medication that worked. I had taken medication 4 years earlier also, but they didn't solve any problems. They took away some edge of the anxiety, but they didn't really solve any problems. But at that time, when I was 26, 27, the medication started to really take away the anxiety. And at that time, I pushed myself really much to confront the anxiety, and especially the social anxiety. So I got a job, not a real job, but I got a job to be at, to train at, and to interact with other people. And in about half a year, I found that I didn't have a big problem with the social anxiety anymore. I felt like I could do almost anything when it came to social interaction and functions in life, for example, traveling or things that I had really difficult to do earlier. So I worked a couple more years, 2 years, and got back in the daily routines. And then I felt like, no, I need a change now. I need something to happen in my life. So I decided to pick up my studies, to study philosophy, because that was a big interest for me. So I moved to another town in Sweden and started to study philosophy. And after a year, I felt that, yeah, this is fun, but it's not really giving me so much for the future. And I felt that I'm more interested in people than in ideas. So I shifted the topic in university and started with psychology, and that really caught my interest. So I studied that for 4 more years, so a total of 5 years of studies. And after that, I felt like, yeah, now it's time to start to work and get out in the work life. But I still had a lot of social handicaps, and it was difficult for me to find a job and to function 8 hours a day at a job. So I got a internship to gradually develop my working skills and working discipline. And that's what I have done now for the last 2 years. And yeah, I work with information and marketing. So that's not really psychology as I want to work with, but it's something. Anyway, I have a huge inner desire, if you may say that, to work with psychology and to talk about well-being. And that's what I'm going to do today, because I consider myself a well-being activist. And this well-being activism is, I try to categorize it as 10 major ambitions I have as a well-being activist. And I will try to explain each and every one of these ambitions. First of all, it's my ambition that all living beings should have the positive right to be able to feel good. And that means that it's not, we don't choose where we are born or what kind of genes we have. We have to deal with the conditions we are given, and sometimes the conditions are really, really bad. And that's why I think it's important to spread the idea that all living beings actually have the positive right to be able to feel good, and we should all work towards that goal, because if we do so, we will increase the likelihood of people feeling good and getting support when they do not feel good. And I think that's a really good place to start with the well-being activism. And the second ambition is that well-being should be taught in elementary and high school, because I think it's such an important and central topic in life, to try to be happy and to try to know how to deal with anxiety, and to understand anxiety, what it is. Because when you are afraid of something and you don't know what it is, it often becomes worse. But if you have a handle, and it becomes you understand that you're not alone with these kind of feelings. Most people have them, and yeah, it's I think it should be a really good topic in school, and not only to mention it in the quickly, but to really discuss well-being and discuss anxiety in school. I think that would be, and social relations also. Bullying is a big problem in schools, so to talk about well-being could be a more natural path into problems in schools and bullying, for example. And beauty standards for both boys and girls are a problem with they think they are not good enough or don't look good enough, and knowledge about that also should be very important, and could lead to increased likelihood to be able to feel good. And thirdly, I want to develop the effectivity of the psychiatric care, and that those who seek help should be able to get help, and not only help but the best possible evidence-based care. Because we cannot always handle anxiety and psychological challenges on our own. We sometimes need help. We need professional help. And the psychiatry is here in Sweden, it's very, very, what's it called? Too many people feel bad and too few people are able to help. We have too few psychologists and psychiatrists. So it's a long waiting line. And most people get really, really bad before they get help. And we could prevent many problems if we help people when they start to get problems instead of when they have so many problems they can hardly survive. So there are many reforms that are needed in the psychiatry, and that's a big ambition for me, to be able to help to develop these reforms and make the psychiatry better. It is a question of resources, but it's also a question of ambition and priorities. And my fourth ambition is that workplaces should have a well-developed well-being policy for their staff. And with that I mean, if there is a policy for staff and personnel getting psychological problems or anxiety, it's easier to handle these problems directly instead of the person being sick a long period of time and having to find help on their own. And it's also much more cost effective if they get help immediately, so they can get back to work as quick as possible. So there's a lot of work that can be done in workplaces. And also my fifth ambition is to stimulate research about well-being and psychology, because research is extremely important in differentiating between what we believe and what we know. We can believe a number of things, but research really tells us if we are correct about our assumptions or not. For example, if a medication is effective or things like that. And then of course there's many things about psychology that cannot get an answer from research. Psychology borders to philosophy, but there are a lot of questions that can be researched and should be researched, especially in medication and prevention and things like that. My sixth ambition is that hold on, my throat is not used to this kind of talking. Have you ever experienced this, you other video bloggers out there? It's like I get some big fur ball in my throat or something. I'm halfway through my 10 ambitions, and there are 5 more to go. Okay, so let's get back to it. Number 6, the societies should have a well-developed well-being policy, and societies should also evaluate preventive and promotional programs on well-being, because in a society, the society try to make people feel as good as possible, and to create kind of opportunities for people to feel as good as possible. And to do this, they have a lot of programs. They have preventive programs to prevent problems, but they also have promotional programs to promote good things, which research has shown help us become better. For example, anxiety coping skills is such a promotional program, or creative programs in school, and so on. And a preventive example is bullying prevention in schools, or alcohol prevention in the society. And my seventh ambition is that all people are good as they are, as long as they don't hurt others. And it's okay not to feel good. That's like the most important thing there is to be said, I believe. People do not always feel well, and it's okay not to feel well. It shouldn't be a big shame, or people shouldn't be feel bad about themselves just because they feel bad. It's okay to feel bad, and it happens, and it's okay not to function 100%. And yeah, acceptance, it's called in psychology. And also, number 8 ambition is to reduce the stigma around psychological problems, because there is a huge stigma that people feel when they talk about mental illness or psychological problems or depression or anxiety. It's like they reduce themselves to a problem instead of a human being, and that's often because of the stigma that in our society we shouldn't talk about these things, and attitudes like that. And it has to do with I mean, life is a game of social status, and not being well is a problem to that social status. You become you believe you have less social status, and it's really a problem when the society is based on people being as good as possible instead of people being okay as they are and trying to be as good as possible. It's not a failure not to be perfect, and if we reduce the stigma, we can talk about these things a lot more clear. And number 9 ambition is to offer free psychological self-help, because self-help is first of all, it's necessary. No one can get better without themselves really doing the work. And even if they get support and help, in the end they need to do the work themselves. And then to get the work done, it's really important with knowledge. And to increase the knowledge, I want to offer free self-help, so people can work on these things on their own when they have it should be able to be out there and be available to other people for free. So that's what I'm aiming to do also in the future. And my last ambition is to coach people to be more functional and to be more happy in everyday life. Because yeah, even if we do things ourselves, sometimes we need support and advice and encouragement and opinions and someone to ventilate to. And I hope I could be a good coach to understand other people's thoughts and to give good input to other people. So that's something I want to do and work with in the future. And that was really all I wanted to talk about this first time. It was it was a good experience for me, and I hope it was somewhat interesting for you. And I'll get better at these things, and my English will also improve, my styling will improve, everything will improve, I hope. So take care, everyone. See you soon.